Welcome back to my channel, According to Kat. If you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're returning, just say hi. And what are we going to be making today? Okay everyone, today I am bringing you 4 very festive Christmas crafts using Dollar Tree and other really affordable products. If you want to learn how I made all 4 of these, make sure you stay tuned. If you'd like to know what supplies I've used, check out the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. First, we're starting with DIY number 1, Ice Fairy Ornament. So the first thing I did was I took this round. It is 8 inches wide, so it is the perfect size. I think it came from a cake or something. It was like the bottom, and I always like to wipe them off so that I can use them in my crafts. I just took a lid from something and I drew a circle. I'm folding it in half and cutting half the circle out of the cardboard. It was a little tough to cut, so here's another option, but oh, as I'm watching this, like, it is so close to my hand. That is so bad. Oh, that goes right through me. So I'm cutting with the craft knife right around there, and you can see I got a much cleaner cut. So now I'm going to take that same craft knife and I'm going to cut 2 slits, not all the way through, just a little bit. So you can see here how much I went in, and that's what's going to hold my decorative mesh. Now I saw a YouTuber make like poofs or puffs out of tulle, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that with my decorative mesh that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it's like an icy blue. So I thought this would be really pretty. So I'm shoving it in those little notches that I cut out, and I'm putting a little bit on each side, and you can see here if I fold it, it's kind of tucked in there, so it kind of stays out of the way. But when I first started wrapping the mesh around, it was like getting caught in there. So you can see I just took some tape and I'm taping down the sides so it really stays out of my way. I put the mesh in that box so it doesn't roll all over the place, and you can see I'm just going right around until I have no more mesh left. So I can't even tell you how many times I went around because I started counting and then I was like, oh, I'm done. So I just went till I didn't have any more left. And at that point, I am just going to pull these 2 pieces that I had tucked off to the side with my tape, and I'm going to tie them as tight as I can into a knot. And that's what's going to hold this whole poof ball together. We'll call it a poof ball. And I am taking my scissors and I'm going to go right in that crease. You see where that crease is? So if that was like a taco, you're going to go right in the middle of the taco. Now, I tried with the scissors. Yeah, that was not working. So I actually had to go in with my super sharp fabric scissors. And I'm going to tell you, I hate using it for anything else, even though this is sort of fabric-like, but no, it still has that mesh material and I feel like it's going to dull it out. So I really need to get new fabric scissors, or just really sharp scissors. I need more scissors, period. So now I am going to make all of the mesh sort of the same size. So I'm going to cut it all down and give it a good haircut, and you can see how cute it looks. Now, another option you could do if you don't want to go through all this, you could actually take a Dollar Tree, what are those called? A bath sponge, you know, like those bath sponge like you bring in the shower poofs. You could use that instead if you didn't want to do all that, but I think that looks so cute and almost looks like blue feathers. I can't with this. All right, so now I get smarter. I take a wooden bead, I put it on a skewer, and I am painting it white. That will be the bodice of the ice fairy. And I'm just going to put that to the side to dry. I'm putting it right in a wipe. I love to keep it in a wet wipe, so if I need white again, I can go right back to it and my brush didn't dry out. So now I'm taking another wood bead. It's a little bit smaller. I am putting it on a wired, like raffia wire, so that I can hold it in place. I'm taking a brand new Sharpie because I wanted it super sharp so I can draw the eyes. I just made little flattened U's and I put some eyelashes on it. That's all I did. Now I'm taking some red and white and making a very, very light pink, and I'll just take a little water to make sure that is it's not going to be a potent color. I don't want it to be. I just wanted a light color on her cheeks. So I'm going to take a daughter. Now I use these when I craft with my students at school, and I got a bunch of them off of Amazon one time. I think you got 5 in a pack, but you can use both ends, and you can see all I did was dip it in that pink. I have to turn off the light so you see it better, and then just put a dot on each cheek. And if you don't have one of those daughters, you could just use another skewer, anything, even your fingertip, and just put a little dot on. I'm taking some hot glue and I'm using it as a base so that that bead doesn't fall down the skewer. I'm actually using that skewer to put inside of the skirt. So that's going to stay put on that bead. So I'm going to keep it all together. Now I'm putting a little hot glue at the top of that bead, and that's what I'm going to attach the head to. And right there, now those are joined together. Just going to take this little daughter's tool and I'm going around any excess glue is taken off. Now I'm just going to stick it right here in this styrofoam and let it dry. Now these ornaments are from the Dollar Tree. There are the trees. I just bent it back and forth and I broke them in half. I tried to use the cutter and that did not work. I couldn't even get it in there. Bad idea. But look how easy these just break apart. I just twisted it a little and done. Yeah, I got some glitter on me. Did the same thing to the other one. Just bent it back and forth and twist a little bit and it comes right apart. Okay, so I wanted to see, am I going to use this one or the other one? And I kind of liked the shape of those better, so I'm going to cut off the stem of the tree. You could use either side or make 2 ornaments instead of 1. And I'm just cutting off the stems. And yeah, I like that better. So now I'm using some of this super glue gel and I'm putting like a piece of cardboard and that's going to hold it together. And then on the other side, I'm putting a lot of hot glue. So I'm using hot glue and that super glue gel just to make sure those wings stay together. I even take a piece and put it on the other side of cardboard to hold them even tighter. I'm taking some hot glue and I'm joining that skirt together just where it kind of was separating due to the way it was tied with the knot, and that really did help. You can see it makes it one big puff ball rather than it looking like there's 2 sections. So just a little hot glue. Now I'm taking this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It is a mesh light blue, baby blue ribbon, and I'm putting that right to cover up that whatever piece of paper or whatever you use. I used a little white piece of cardboard. I wanted to cover that up, so I just used that mesh ribbon. So you can see I'm sticking that skewer right down the middle, right into that knot, and I just stuck it right down. So I'm going to pull it up a little bit, get my hot glue right in there where I'm going to put the body of the ice fairy, and I will push her down in there so she kind of sticks. So I basically used hot glue for this whole thing, except for the wings and the hanger. I used the super glue gel. So now I'm taking the wings and you can see I'm going to put a little hot glue right there on the back of the wings, and I'm going to attach it to the back of her body. And I'm just going to hold it there a minute till it dries. Now she still has the skewer coming out of her head. So that is what I'm going to tie this ribbon to make a bow. You can see it's already tied on there. And now I'm just going to make a bow, wrap it right around there and straighten it out. And then I'm going to cut off the rest of that skewer. So I'm attaching the bow with some hot glue and pushing it down. And here you can see I just cut off the rest of that skewer, and now I'm just taking my fingers and a little bit of hot glue to squeeze that bow together so it covers up any of that skewer. The skewer is still under that bow, so that's going to hold it in place. So now I'm just cutting off any excess of that ribbon, a little bit more on both sides, and there we go. And that just looks so cute. So that's kind of like her ribbon and her hair at the same time. So I'm just taking one of these hangers. I had it left over from something from the Dollar Tree, and I used both glues, and I'm just going to stick it right to the back of her bow, and I'm going to hold it there a second with this metal piece, and that will not come apart because that super glue gel is really good. Now she still has the skewer coming out from the bottom under the dress, and I need to cut that as well, but you can see that it's going to hold everything together, keeping that skewer inside. I just use my wire cutters and cut that off. She is so cute. Now I'm just fluffing her up and seeing if there's anything else that needs to be adjusted on her. And in the back, I can see that she still has the white cardboard showing, and I didn't like that. So I had like a little leftover piece that I had cut off extra of the decorative mesh, and I just stuck it to the back, and that really covered anything, and it just made her dress even more poofy. And that's it. I hope you like this as much as I do. Whoa, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh. La, da, da, da. Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new, 'cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of. Moving on to DIY number 2, home for the holidays sign. So the first thing I did was I took these paddle wooden sticks that I got off of Amazon. You got 100 in a pack. I love them. So great for anything crafting. They're like a popsicle stick, but thicker. And I am just using some branch cutters to cut these. I'm going to use them as the frame to my Dollar Tree bamboo cutting board. Now the longer pieces, I will need 2 of those, and 2 shorter pieces. The longer pieces you will see in a second that are 9.5 inches, and the shorter pieces will be 6.5 inches. Now the way I'm putting them on, here's the longer piece and then the shorter piece. The way I'm putting them on, I'm going to have to overlap them. I'll show you in a second. It's because the stuff I'm putting on the plaque are a little larger, so I had to figure out a way to fit everything on. So now I'm just taking my Waverly Antique Wax. I'm using it as a stain and then wiping off any excess. And I love using it as a stain because it dries so much faster. I'm taking this Dollar Tree ornament, and all I want from it is the truck. So I'm just cutting off the Merry Christmas. I don't need that anymore. And I'm taking some Dollar Tree sandpaper and just sanding off any of that glitter. I don't want it on there. I got most of it off. You can see there's just a couple pieces on there, and that's fine. I'm going to rip off the tree. I don't really like the tree. So now I'm just taking some red. I didn't really need to do the bottom. At first I thought I was going to make it red, but then I changed my mind. And now I'm painting over the truck, and I keep painting the wrong side. But I do paint over the truck just because the red was really like bright red, and I didn't want that. So now I'm just taking a piece of cardboard and I'm cutting out the shape of a tree. I just freehanded it. It was no big deal, and painting that green. So I'm taking some Waverly chalk paint in elephant, and now I'm going over the bumper. What is that called? The axle? What would you call that? No, not a car person. What's that called? Anyway, tell me in the comments. And I went over all of it because right now you can see I am making the tires, and I'm just using a ribbon spool that is no more, and I'm just cutting out 2 circles and painting it black Waverly chalk paint in ink. And you can see now I am taking I painted it in elephant, and now I want it to be metallic. So I'm using my Folk Art metallic silver, and that will really make that really stand out and look good. I tried to put it on the smaller pieces for the wheels, for like the hubcaps, and it didn't work. It was too shiny and just slid right off. So first I went in with the elephant. I'm going to let that dry, and then I will go back with the metallic paint. Right here I'm using an old nail dryer, and that works out perfectly to dry your stuff. I just keep it in my craft room. Next up, I have some burnt umber from Apple Barrel Paints, and I am just using it as a rust. This truck, I want it to look old and beat up, so I'm just going through and just rusting it up. So now I'm going back with some red to, take out some of those splotches that looked a little splotchy to me, and I just keep going back and forth with the 2 colors, and in the end I love how it turned out. Right there it looks still splotchy. Now I'm taking some of that Waverly chalk paint in white, and I have to go over these pieces. Now I painted them, well, I should have stained them in the antique wax because I wanted it to show through. Even though I go heavy with the white, you can still see it kind of looks like barnwood, and that was the look I was going for. I could not leave the frame dark because it was like almost the same color as the cutting board, and it just all kind of just blended together. On my CRICUT, I made this little decal. It says home for the holidays. I thought it was a really cute saying to do with that red truck. And I actually put like a sweater print with it, and I kind of put it right in the middle of the sweater print, and I thought it looked so cute. Yeah, so I just used my Cricut Joy, quickly made this, and now I am just putting it on. Now I will tell you, it was really hard to keep that on there because the cutting boards are like I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, too smooth. So if you're going to use vinyl on it, make sure you put like Mod Podge or something down first, because it was giving me a really hard time to stick on there. So now I am just cutting up that tree to make sure it fits good, so it looks like it's actually sitting inside the truck. So I'm just kind of shaping it and then laying it on top until I get it how I want it. Laying everything out, getting my hot glue, putting the wheels on first. And then I will take the hubcaps. Oh, and if you are liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel, and it lets me know what kind of videos you want more of. And if you haven't subscribed, do that too. All right, so now I am, that was really high pitched. So now I'm just putting the tree back on with some hot glue now that it fit good. And I am going to take the hubcaps and put those on next. And just a little hot glue is all you need. Now you can leave your truck like this, but I wanted it to be a very snowy holiday. So I'm using my Waverly Antique Wax in white, and here's my problem. I used too big a brush. So you can see it was kind of like going everywhere, but it was a really bad snowstorm that day, I think. So I realized it at that point, and then I get a much smaller brush, but I didn't want to have to repaint everything, so I kind of just made it really snowy. In the end, I love it because he is driving home for the holidays, even though the snowstorm is so bad. I had a whole story in my head. Okay, so I am just using my Dollar Tree square, and that's going to help me keep everything at a 90-degree angle, and that worked out perfectly. And then you can see I'm going to do the other side, and I just line it up, put a little hot glue, and I'm going to lay that right down. So what's going to stick to the cutting board are the two sides. The top and bottom are actually going to stick to the actual sides of the frame. Because I didn't have enough room to fit the truck, if I would have attached the top and bottom frame to the actual cutting board, I wouldn't have had enough room. So I had to attach it to the sides. That's why I had to like layer it like that. I'm just using hot glue on both sides, straightening that out, and then putting my truck right there at the bottom. See, it's so cute. Even though it was really snowy, I still loved it. But you don't have to do this now. You could leave it alone. Next, I am just adding some greenery right here to the corner with some hot glue. And I'm just putting enough on there so that it just gives it some interest. And I kind of fill out that entire corner with some pieces just from a piece of like a long garland. I love buying my greenery and garlands because you get so much for the money. Find your garlands on sale at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's. Get your garlands and then you cut them up. It's the best bang for your buck. You can see I'm using the darker red berries. I just like the look of that with the truck, and those are from the Dollar Tree, so I just wanted to show you I was using the darker ones. And then I just put this little bow on here, and this is it. I hope you like it as much as I do.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows.
Moving on to DIY number 3, peppermint candy sign. The first thing I did was I took this pizza pan from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use the back of it as the peppermint. So I'm taking my Waverly Chalk Paint in white, and I'm going to give this a good coat. After the first coat, I did go back and just touch up. I didn't give it a whole nother full coat, but I did touch up any places that I thought looked a little thin. I'm taking these Dollar Tree wooden planks. Now I want to show you how thick these are. I never knew they were that thick. So this is my first time using them, and I just never knew they were that thick, so I wanted to show you. So I'm just taking that same not antique white, chalk paint in white from Waverly, and I'm giving that a good coat just on one side because it's going to go in the middle of the peppermint. So I'm finding my center, and my advice is don't draw it first, even though I'm drawing it first. I felt like it limited me, and then I was afraid that you were going to see it through there. Anyway, I would just freehand it because I didn't want my peppermint to be perfect anyway, and you're going to see it really isn't, because peppermints don't look perfect. And I thought, I don't know, I just didn't want it to look perfect. I am taking this red chalk marker, and that's how I'm going to make the peppermint stripes. And the reason I'm using this is I don't have a really steady hand when I paint, and I was afraid it wouldn't look as crisp, the lines. So I am using this marker instead of red paint, but you can use red paint and a little thin brush and you would get a really good look. Again, I was so worried about those lines showing through, and I would just not even do that. I didn't want it to look perfect because peppermints aren't perfect, and I just went around and did the edges and everything. Here you can see I'm taking a plastic gallon bag, cutting off where you would close it, and I'm cinching it with my hand, taking some regular kitchen string you get at the Dollar Tree and tying the end, and I'll knot that a couple times. And I will also do this with another bag because they will stick out either side of the peppermint. You could also use some of the cellophane on a roll that you get at the Dollar Tree, or you can take one bag, cut it in half. I just used two different separate bags because it was easier that way, and you can see it worked out just fine. All right, so now I'm going to work on the center sign. Now I made this on my Cricut Joy, and it just says old-fashioned candy cane, and I just thought it was a fun font, and I just used it, and I'm just sticking it right on, and look how easy this one comes off. The other one gave me such a problem. This one's like zip, comes right off. So yeah, that cutting board was really slick. So as I'm laying the sign down, I can see it kind of gets lost on this peppermint. So I go back with that same Sharpie I used before, and I'm going around the edges to make it look more like what's that called? The white enamelware, yes. And like it's chipping away, and I kind of just go right around the edges and then made any extra chips that I want to, and I really liked the look of that. So you know how sometimes when we craft, we kind of like keep changing and evolving our idea. We try to find out what looks best, and we just keep changing it until we are happy with what we see. And that's what I do here, but I do that with all my crafts. That's just how I do craft. So I am taking some hot glue and putting that right on the back of the sign. I'm going to tell you now, it does not work, because whenever I use hot glue and metal, for some reason they just pop off so easily. So a little bit later, I'll show you how I fix that. So I'm tucking these under, and I'm like, okay, so if I hot glue these underneath here, that plastic is going to melt. So I take this tape and I'm just going to wrap it around so that the hot glue has something to stick to without melting the plastic. So that masking tape is more like a barrier, and I cut off any excess, and here I put my hot glue on. And this stayed fine even though I used hot glue. This stayed fine without a problem. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Just put a little hot glue there and just stick that right on. So this ribbon, oh, I love this ribbon. It's so looks like sugared candy. So pretty. I got it at Michael's, and it was 75% off. I got such a good deal on it, and I'm just going right down the middle because I wanted to make it thinner, and that is going to be what's on either side of the peppermint. So I'm going to make bows as if the cellophane is like tied up with that. So I'm just taking that same kitchen string and I'm wrapping it around and tying a knot, and then I'll just take another small piece of that ribbon and just put it right around the middle and hot glue that in place. That ribbon is so pretty. I knew when I saw it, I was like, I have to do something pepperminty for this because the ribbon was so cute. So the idea came off of the ribbon. It was my inspiration. So this will be my last Christmas video. I will move more into some winter stuff, but I'm sad for it to go. I love doing Christmas crafts, but I know everyone pretty much is decorated by now, so I just threw in one last one, but I do love doing these. So right there you can see it pops right off. So I'm just going to take that Gorilla Glue Super Glue gel and I'm going to go right over actually where the glue was, because I didn't want to scrape it off, and if I put the super glue on the wood it wouldn't have hit the actual metal, so I just put it right on top of the other glue and it worked out great. This greenery is from another garland and I just love it. Love this greenery too. And I'm going to hot glue that right on the corner just to give this some interest. And then I will take some red berries, since they will go so nicely with the peppermint, and these are frosted berries, so they're going to look so pretty on there with the frosted sugary looking ribbon. And then I take 2 of those little frosted pine cones from Dollar Tree and I put those on either side. Then I'm doing any last touch-ups. I used a soda tab for the back. You can see I tried other methods and they did not work. There was glue everywhere. Now I just cut down the gallon bags a little bit just because they were sticking out too far. And the next part that I'm doing here, you don't need to do. You can leave it just like this, but I, of course, needed to rough it up. Okay, so this is where I made my mistake. At first, I was trying to dry brush it with the antique wax, and I should have stayed with that. But then I went in with the ink because I thought, oh, the black's going to match the black in the candy cane, like the sign, like that little wooden piece. Yeah, right here. This is where I messed up. Right. Oh, I was so sad. So you can see right there. I was like, no. So I'm like, let me get a wipe. Maybe it'll come off. Yeah, that didn't work either. But I want to show you we all mess up. So I went back over with my red marker and my white paint, waited for it to dry. And then I went in with my original thought with the antique wax and I dry brushed it. And then I loved it. And that's it for this one. I hope you like it as much as I do.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Last up, DIY number 4, wrapped ornaments. So the first thing I did was I took this tablecloth that I got on clearance. It was like $4.99. I actually got it for my table, and then when I washed it I was like, oh no. But I use it for crafting and I love it because it frays so nicely. So I took a little square, put a styrofoam ball in the center. I think you get 2 in a pack from Dollar Tree. And then I am taking some twine and wrapping it around right there at the top, and I'll put a nice knot in there. Then I'll take my scissors and I will cut off any excess of that fabric at the top. And then I will just use my fingers and fray out the edges. And I love that look. So it's so easy to do. Then I just took some twine and I made a loop out of it, and that's going to be my hanger. So I'm going to open those folds right there at the top, put some hot glue in there, put a little more hot glue just to make sure it's going to stay. And then I just use my fingers and close up all that fabric around it. And that hanger is not going anywhere. It really adhered nicely. So now I'm just taking this greenery. Again, this came from a big garland. It was like one garland that had all different types of greenery on it. So that was a good find. I got that at Michael's. And I'm using these green berries that were from a Dollar Tree bush that I had forever. And I think they were just some pieces that broke off. And I had enough for 2 ornaments. So I am just gluing those on. And now I'm going to take some of those tiny pine cones from Dollar Tree, the frosted looking ones, and I put those right at the top. Now I realized that piece was kind of sticking out a little bit, so I cut off that greenery that was sticking out and I tucked it in a little further. And that's it. But I just love how natural these look and simple, and I just added another pine cone. And then I did the same thing with the other one. I won't show you the whole process of it, but I just wrapped it up, glued all the same stuff on, so I had a pair of them. Super easy. This is an easy craft. I like to mix some more difficult crafts with some easier ones for any new crafters out there. And that's it. I hope you like it as much as I do.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes, and I want it all from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you warm as soon as you remove.
And here we are at the final reveal, my favorite part of the video, because we get to recap everything we just made. So the first thing we made was this really pretty ice fairy ornament. I love her. Her skirt is just so cute. It looks so feathery and she looks so blue and icy. I love her. Then we have the Home for the Holidays sign. It's so rustic. My husband, this was his favorite, and our very, very snowy truck on there. Next up was the good old-fashioned candy cane peppermint sign. So cute, and that ribbon, the inspiration ribbon, was just beautiful. And last up were these two very earthy, very natural looking ornaments. I loved these as well. So simple to make, but so pretty. So tell me, which one of these is your favorite? I'm gonna go with, this might surprise you, the Ice Fairy. I just love her. She is so darling, and I love her feathery skirt, and I just love her icy blue color and her glittery wings. I just love her. Tell me in the comments below which one is your favorite. Thanks guys, and Merry Christmas!
So that's it, that's the end of my video. I hope you liked everything you saw today, and I hope it inspires you to make something of your own. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Cat Luna Designs, please do so. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love if you did. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye! And if you haven't subscribed, no, I already said that. Really? Let's turn it like that. There. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Cat Luna Designs, I would love if you did. If you